Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. We start off with Pakistan versus West Indies. Now we're all set for the second test match. Pakistan already lead the series 1-0 after they won the first test match. This is now the final test match that takes place once again in Multan, and we're hoping for Pakistan to wrap up the series. A couple of news sources do tell us that there might be certain changes in the Pakistan 11 and we might not see a fast bowler now, so that's interesting. And there are talks that Imamul Haq might be coming into the side as well. So only time will tell what Pakistan's playing 11 is. Often when we've made these comments or we've discussed sources, it's the same playing 11. So obviously that can be the case. So I'm just giving you a disclaimer already. So we discuss about that. The second test match takes place from tomorrow onwards. Both teams are focused on their performance, and I think West Indies now would have a better chance of reading the pitch as they had in the first test match as well. Although Warrican was superb, and I think now they'll realize that they need to put up a spin trap, and maybe that can help them as well. Then of course you move on to the ICC Men's ODI Team of the Year, side by side the Test Team of the Year and the Women's Team of the Year as well. If you talk about the ODI Team of the Year, two very, very important developments there. One, there is nobody from Team India in this one-day international 11. Right before the Champions Trophy, you consider a chances for the one-day international if that means that the case is there for a certain team that has dominated World 11s throughout when they have been ceremoniously announced. But for Pakistan, the second update is that 3 players from Pakistan have been part of this playing 11. They include Saim Ayub as the opener and 2 fast bowlers, Shaheen Shah Afridi and Haris Rauf in there as well. So I think it's a great omen. We should appreciate them, and congratulations to all these 3 gentlemen. But my special congratulations to Team Sri Lanka, who've got majority of the players, and the skipper also has been named from Sri Lanka. So I think that is a great milestone. And if you look at the past campaign for the past 1 year, Sri Lanka really have been very, very good. And I think they're slowly building into the mighty Sri Lankans as well. So I think that is a great omen for them. So we talk about that. Then of course we move on to the ICC Under-19 Women's T20 Cup, where Pakistan have defeated Samoa by 52 runs. What I appreciated is that Pakistan batted 20 overs completely and scored 136 for 8 and then bowled out Samoa for just 84. Hania took 4 wickets and she led the Pakistan bowling attack. So I think we're salvaging a victory. We were never result oriented because these girls were frankly not given enough practice time or not enough combination. Even the coach probably didn't know about them before the tournament. So I think just at the camp, they realized who the players are. But still, I would appreciate them for winning a game, and it's going to help their confidence. I hope that they now are the focus for the next future of Pakistan women's cricket, and they don't disperse as we've seen in the past as well. Then we move on to the Australian Open tennis tournament, where Yannick Sinner has moved into the finals, balled off as Djokovic forfeited due to an injury. So he retired, and that meant that as well. And elsewhere on the women's side, Madison Keys has made it to the final. She beat Iga Swiatek, as we were talking off the court, because he said this is a man who's won a tournament, crowd not to boo him off and appreciate a player who has given everything to the game that he loves despite being injured as well. So I think we'll talk about that in detail and give you the matchups as well. Time now to introduce the guests. First of all, joining us in studios is sports expert, international cricket commentator, broadcaster and presenter K. Asif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, I'm perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. We've also been joined by first-class cricketer Kashif Majid. Assalamu alaikum, Kashif, how are you?
Walaikum salam, Ahmed. Perfectly all right.
Thank you for joining us. We've also been joined by former cricketer for Cricket Scotland and international commentator Qasim Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum, Qasim. Welcome to Sports Extra. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Thank you. Hope you are.
Thank you for joining us, Qasim. How are you eyeing this second test match now? There are a couple of rumors circulating that we might see Imamul Haq and we might not see a fast bowler. That pretty much sums it up what the pitch is going to be like. But maybe West Indies this time have a better chance now, considering that even in the first test match, Warrican bowled superbly, and had it not been for the partnership between Saud Shakil and Rizwan, West Indies were clearly ahead of us.
Yeah, look, they will have learned lessons from the first test match. Although I don't know how much you can learn playing on spin tracks like that so quickly after one test. Sometimes it can take a few test matches. But I'm sure they will have expected this before they came to Pakistan. In regards to Pakistan, I'm not surprised actually. Why should you play? I mean, in home soil currently, they may as well just add a few more batsmen, a couple more spinners, and give the fast bowlers a complete rest because they're not using them in the test match. So, but again, I don't think that's a good long-term plan. We discussed this in the last episode where I said that, there needs to be a plan for playing elsewhere in the world. So there needs to be a balance. But I'm not surprised that they might go completely spin in the bowling attack and bring an extra batter in as well.
Well, certainly. I think that probably gives Pakistan a bit of more security, considering that we're the champions of collapse in our batting. But Asif, how would you analyze this test match for Pakistan? And on the hands of the West Indies as well, as also Qasim highlighted, they surely are bound to learn a lesson now, and they might be just a bit more prepared than before.
Well, you already said in your intro that the Hurricane was a big worry for Pakistan, and rest they have good spinners, but Pakistan team was struggling against the spinners. Apart from Rizwan and Saud Shakil, every batter, including Shan Masood, Kamran Ghulam, they were clueless, and especially when we talk about the top-notch batter Babar Azam, when he was struggling against the spinners, it's a question mark for Pakistani batting lineup. And as Qasim was saying, that either they've learned the message talking about the West Indies, see that these kind of surfaces always, not easy for the batters to play there, to put a big total. As we have seen the presser of vice skipper Saud Shakil, what he was talking about, that if same is the case, that if we're going on the same surface, then you won't be seeing any sort of change in that in the playing 11, as you were talking about Imamul Haq's inclusion. I don't think so that they will go, might be, with the same playing 11. And secondly, that he said that we were eyeing on 350 in these kind of conditions, where you're getting the spinners, they're ruling, and spinners, they're performing well, because we have two good spinners, plenty of experience, and they're bowling so well. They bowled so well against the England as well. So I think we will be watching the same track, we'll be watching the same strategy from Pakistan. If they will win the toss, they will go for the batting first. They will try to put a total around 300, and definitely then the West Indies will be in trouble. But I think if you see only 2-3 batters from the West Indies batting lineup, there's some experience playing, including their skipper Brathwaite, and then we talk about the Joshua De Silva. Rest, they're a new side, and they don't have even good fast bowlers, as we talked about Azari Joseph, and we talk about Shamar Joseph. Both of them, they're not in the side. Shamar Joseph was injured. Azari Joseph wasn't available. So these are the problems with the West Indies cricket team as well. But on the other side, on the winning note, the way Pakistan have won the first test, the confidence is sky high, and definitely they will put a pressure on West Indies again.
Well, certainly that pressure is bound to come, because Pakistan have been clearly dominating, and so have the spinners, who have just aced the rankings just recently as well. Both Sajid and Noman have been exceptionally brilliant, and also Abrar, I think he's contributed well as well. But Kashif, how would you analyze this now? West Indies is a very, very interesting team. Even though they're down and out, they tend to find joy in even the most critical of circumstances, and that's what they've done as well. I was listening to the post-match presentation ceremony as well, where the skipper said that it's okay, the game is done, we still have one more game, and we're going to bounce back.
Definitely, when we talk about the color of West Indian cricket or the color of the Caribbeans, it's always there. I just going through, when you're going through this question, I was just going through that memory of Christopher Henry Gale playing his last match in the World Cup, and enjoying, because he just saved a single, most probably diving on his left side, and he just saved one run, and he was enjoying as if he have conquered anything. So this is what West Indies is all about, and the Caribbean flavor, the aura they have got throughout the history of cricket, it's something to cherish. And honestly, I miss those times as West Indies was a force to reckon in every form of game, primarily when they were playing the late in the 80s or the 90s. I guess the West Indies we know from our childhood was not anywhere to be found, but still they're fighting hard, and still they are the 2 times T20 champion. But when it comes to Test cricket, they just lag behind, I think, and most probably this is where they have to pull up their socks and find something to play against. Although they have won a match in Australia and we haven't, but still playing spin for West Indies has always been a difficult task since the start of the days, and most probably this is where Pakistan is exploiting. Pakistani spinners are exploiting, and I guess for the second test, the story will remain the same. I won't find any fight again from the West Indies. Most probably the spinners can do a bit, but when it comes to their batter, they are not accustomed to play this sort of spin. So yes, a 3-day affair most probably.
Well, in his defense, in the defense of Christopher Henry Gale, I must say that Now, Kashif, when me and you stop a single like that, we know how happy we become. And the next 3 days we're thinking about, how gorgeous we were trying to save that single. So, at times when you reach, a certain age and a certain fitness, even if you stop a regulation or take a regulation catch or a regulation ball, you feel proud of yourself. So I think that is the case. You would agree, Kashif?
Oh yes, yes, yes. And we are talking about the universe boss. we know him just not because of saving singles. We know him because of hitting his ability to hit sixes. And yes, you are quite right. There are days when you saved a certain boundary, you saved a certain single.
I'm pretty sure the catch you took, running from long on to mid wicket, one-handed catch in that tournament that we played, still must be one of your golden memories.
Oh yes, one of those. I wish that was recorded somewhere, and most probably I'll be going through again and again in my downtime. Whenever I feel depression, I'll be going this reel again and again. But those are those memories that will stay with you throughout your career.
This is certainly. Qasim, I must ask you at this point, we've just recently seen the ICC announcing the ODI team of the year alongside the test team of the year as well. Pakistan, 3 players have made it to the ODI team. We'll come to that topic in a bit. But why I mention this, although that we're talking about test cricket, is that no Pakistanis made it to that test 11. As a nation now, apart from everything that is now on the right track and things are improving gradually, of course, this is the first time we're seeing stability at the helm of affairs in the PCB as well. How do we prioritize test cricket? I understand that a lot of people around the world are of the fact that, test cricket is not something that, is going to still have that footing going in the longer years, but we're still able to see more than 370,000 people watching a test match in Australia. We're still seeing a packed, MCC when it comes to test in England. So, the world is still loving this game in its true form. How do we prioritize test cricket as a nation?
I echo your words. For me, test cricket is still the most purest form of cricket. I don't want to see it go downhill. I was actually speaking to a young 20-year-old professional women's cricketer just this week, and even she was saying that she wants test cricket to still be alive and well. So it just shows you the power of test cricket. Pakistan's test cricket, you're absolutely correct, is in a major transition period. I think it's been heavily reliant on Babar Azam when he was in form, and I think since Babar Azam's form has gone, the team has started to struggle. But I think that's been a bit of a negative, because I think we've put our attention a little bit too much on Babar Azam rather than looking at the team overall. And I think it's the full structure that needs to get looked at. The domestic game, I think the best players have still got to be playing in the domestic game to give the chance for players to improve, to see what they need to aspire to, so that they're ready for Test cricket. I think the problem just now is you're picking players straight from the Qaid-e-Azam Trophy who I don't think are playing quite at the high enough standard or against the caliber of players they need to be to then be, put straight into the Test team. So I think there's a big gap there at the moment. So I think attention needs to be given by the PCB to the domestic game. We've talked about that a little bit already on your shows. So, but I just hope that it's continued to get prioritized, because for me, Test cricket is, as I mentioned, purest form. I think the ICC need to help the cause as well, grow the game. So more countries are playing Test cricket. I think there's scope there to have more teams added to Test cricket. Why not? And I think they have to cut the calendar down a little bit. I think you need to play Test cricket at certain times, play T20 cricket at certain times, and play ODI cricket at certain times. Trying to play all the formats at once is going to have a negative impact on some of the formats of cricket, because guys are going from playing a T20 game 3-4 days earlier straight into a Test match. I don't think it's really the right kind of way, the right way to go. So I think the calendar is super packed. Players want to go and play in a lot of franchise tournaments. I understand the difficulty that PCB probably has as well, but I think they have to then put structures in place that players are supported, so that if they do play the first class game, it doesn't affect their career pathways. And then there's periods to play in the franchise games as well. So they're encouraged to go and play in them as well. I think just now there's just too much cricket in the calendar. It's very difficult to get it all into one. And I understand why boards are probably struggling with some of their Test cricket format as well for that reason.
Well, Qasim, you've been part of this first class structure as well. This is the first time that now we've realized that there are flaws in that structure as well. They were still there, but the problem is why we're discussing them now as a nation is because for far too long our test debuts have clearly come from the white ball format. So we've seen somebody doing well in T20s and we've just given them a test debut. Now for the very first time we're realizing that even if we're bringing players from the Quaid-e-Azam Trophy, there might be a big gap in international cricket in the Quaid-e-Azam Trophy model, considering the quality of pitches and the quality of cricket that is being played on the domestic level.
100%. You can't. I don't think. Back in the Kashyap was just mentioning the great West Indies teams of the 90s and the 80s. If you remember the great test teams of Pakistan back then as well, there's one thing that was clear to see. These guys had scored thousands and thousands and thousands of runs in first-class cricket, scored many, many centuries to make their way into the test arena. You're picking guys from one-day T20 cricket. That's not really going to have a positive result. You might get lucky sometimes. Somebody may come in and just click with Test cricket. But overall, I don't think it's the route to go. So that has to be looked at. But again, I think overall the game has to. This is not wanting to sound critical of this, but there's a high performance thing going on just now, where I think Abdul Razak is working with a group of players on hard hitting practice or going big, looking to work on hitting the ball long. Now, I'm all for those type of things to take place, but it's taking place in the middle of a domestic season right now. So that takes 20 players away from the domestic game, which is already suffering. I think things like that have to be looked at. That those kind of camps are ran out with when the fixtures are all going, and I think that would have a better result. I think the more your better players play in first-class cricket, the better results you're going to have a chance of having in your test format as well.
Well, certainly. Asif, you agree now, because for the very first time we've seen now importance being given to domestic performers, and now they're coming to the international circuit. Now we realize that we need to better equip them on the domestic level to face the kind of cricket on international level and bridge that gap in between.
Well, what was happening from last 5-6 years, that especially when we talk about the emerging players, they were playing Pakistan Super League in the age of 19 or 20 after representing Pakistan or 19 or what. So that was a very shortcut to get hype in the media, to get hype in the social media, and even get hype in the minds of the selectors. So this is what happened. This is what was happening in the from past 5-6 years, and the people, they were not talking about the performance of the domestic cricketers, and that was, I think, that was a setback back for the Pakistan Test cricket. And rightly said by Qasim that we were only targeting only one guy, that was Babar Azam. And of course that he was in the rankings, he was in the ranking of ICC, he was playing so well for Pakistan. And the rest of the players, because they were coming from the shorter format of the T20, they were not performing well in ODIs and in Test cricket. And that's why we were not getting another star after Babar Azam. And people were talking about Babar Azam. See that when we talk about the Pakistan Super League, yes, we got some talent like Haris Rauf, we got some talent, some other talent as well. But once again, they aren't playing Test cricket. They're just for the white ball cricket. Recently, we got Usman Khan, once again, a white ball specialist. People were talking about his abilities. So we forgot about...
we got who?
Sorry?
We got who, sorry?
We were talking about Usman Khan, you know.
Why did you say white ball specialist?
Because he didn't play first class cricket. He didn't play
a white ball specialist.
Yeah, so people were talking about that. He's a white ball
Overseas
specialist.
selection specialist. That's the right terminology that we use.
Yeah, that's the right terminology. All right, I'm taking your words. And then we're coming back to that point that when you're not giving respect to the domestic cricketers and even domestic cricket, nobody knows that what was happening, what kind of pitches been made in last 5-6 years. And Saud Shakil refers this point. He said that we want these kind of pitches even in the first class cricket as well, where the turning tracks, where the spin bowlers are ruling, and so we could be prepared for the international cricket. So I think that was the setback, and rightly said by Ahmed Yu that now Pakistan Cricket Board is focusing there as well. We have plenty of tournaments. We have plenty of first-class tournaments, and first-class cricket is happening. And we have watched a bit of change in the pitches. So I think maybe next 2-3 years, we'll get some more talent in Test cricket.
Because Asif, the problem has been that, every year we have messed with that system of the Quaid-e-Azam Trophy. Every year, somebody decides, no, this is not the case. Let's, twist it around. Let's add something. Let's remove something. If you look at, and we idealize those developing nations in cricket. We see Australia, England, New Zealand, South Africa, India. they've not messed with the system. It's the same system that had been there for more than 50 years.
Well, that's why, because their system is strong and they take their players from the system. They don't follow their franchise cricket, and the franchise cricket is only for the betterment of their financial aspects, and even for their, if you talk about some confidence, that's it. Because if you see in the neighbor country what's happening, that they're not getting players from IPL, they're just focused on Ranji Trophy. And we have talked a lot, Ahmed, that Jaiswal and some other players, they've been playing from in Ranji Trophy, and they're performing from last 2-3 years, but they were not getting chances. So I think when we focus on domestic cricket, and your policies should be very consistent.
And certain some of their prime stars in international cricket have returned to domestic, and they've realized, okay, this is not easy. We probably
even Shadab Khan is playing there, Fahim Ashraf is there, everybody.
Well, even if you look at Rohit Sharma and Kohli's dismissal in the Ranji Trophy, they're like, this is not easy.
Yeah, this is not easy.
Even difficult.
See, Virat Kohli is playing this first-class cricket after 12 years. He's realizing the importance of this domestic cricket.
Right.
He's not performing in international cricket and going back to the domestic cricket and getting some confidence.
But on a lighter side, you're going to go bonkers when you see that once the squad is announced and Usman Khan is in the squad for the Champions Trophy. On a lighter side.
You want me to reply?
I foresee things flying in this studio. I don't want it to go there. But Kashif, very quickly, before we head to a break, you've been part of this structure as a first-class cricketer. Every year it's been tweaked. For the very first time now we're realizing, okay, we're not getting T20 players debuting in Test cricket, we're getting Qaid-e-Azam Trophy players debuting, but we still need to bridge that gap.
Definitely, and I wanted to say Qaid-e-Azam Trophy players scoring runs or taking wickets on the green top wicket, entering the Pakistan camp, finding out that it's all spinners heaven. I think that has to be changed. The
graveyard.
If we the graveyard for the batters. And if we wanted our Qaid-e-Azam Trophy players to be acclimatized to the it's going on in international cricket, I think we should replicate all those conditions of international cricket into the Qaid-e-Azam Trophy, and then finding out the best suitable player for the Pakistan. This has to be done pretty urgently and pretty quickly, because right now when we talk about the 4-day cricket, it's happening right now in Pakistan with departmental teams in the ground playing cricket, and the news again is, Ahmed, again the green top wickets, and again the fast bowlers friendly wickets. And right now, when the very same days we are talking about Pakistan cricket going through a phase of spinners friendly tracks. So this is very contradictory when it comes to a part of the players who don't think that I'm a very good player of a fast bowler, I can score runs, and I got selected for the Pakistan, and the very next moment I'll be playing spinners throughout the day.
Well, absolutely. You would know about, you just got bamboozled against Okada and Zulfikar Babar. So you clearly know what has happened as well. But we go towards a short break. Stay tuned. We come back with more as well. And of course, we've got more to add. So thank you very much, Kashif Majid, Qasim, and of course, K. Asif Ahmed for joining us. When we come back, we discuss some more sports. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Extra. Now we move on to the all-important Australian Open. And joining us in studios is sports expert Malik Usman Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Walaikum assalam. I'm doing well.
Thank you very much for joining us. Now, of course, let's take a look at this report and then we continue the discussion.
In the second semi-final, Sinner beat Shelton to face Zverev in the final on January 26. Meanwhile, in the women's singles, Arina Sabalenka secured her place in the final after defeating Paula Badosa in the first semi-final.
Surface value.
Well, there you have it, all you need to know about the details. Now, of course, we continue the discussion. Usman, I think first of all, it was very disappointing seeing Djokovic go out of the tournament like this. But the fact is that, if he has said that he's injured, then he's definitely not able to continue, because I will echo the words of Alexander Zverev that this is a man who once won a Grand Slam with a torn ligament, then again won it with a torn hamstring as well. He knows to give it all, and he's done that for the past 20 years.
Yeah, it was a shame, isn't it? I think it was turning out to be a very, very good contest. I thought Zverev would win this game simply because it's with all due respect to Djokovic. I think because he was injured, and that was why I blasted Alcaraz in the previous episode, that an injured player with such an age, how could you lose to him in a quarter final when you are the next big thing in tennis world? But that is what Djokovic is made up of. He has the nerves of steel. He is a running horse. He just doesn't give up. And one of the biggest plus points of his career has been not the talent. He definitely has talent, but the never say die attitude. He is all about fighting, 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 and he has won Grand Slams during injuries. But this injury, with the age that he is in, I think it was it took its toll. He could win the quarterfinal, but not a semi-final. I think it's a big shame. He was going for the all important 25th Grand Slam, and that is what he deserved. But unfortunately, this injury was too heavy to carry forward. He had a fantastic first set, although he lost 7-5, but it was turning out to be one of the best semi-finals if it was anything to go by. But Zverev, with all due respect to his performance as well, he is into the final now, and I think he would like to have a Grand Slam in his kitty, that is Australian Open.
Well, he's up against someone who has clearly dominated this tournament and is right now the outright favorite to win it as well, which is Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, Sinner is taking Australian Open as his favorite Grand Slam, it seems. Surfaces are favorites to some of the players, and Sinner is not someone who doesn't know what Australian Open surfaces are. He is the defending champion, and let me tell you that with experience comes the defending champion he is, and with him he has all the experience for the past 1 year. He is the two-time Grand Slam champion. I am talking about the US Open and Australian Open the previous time, and the ATP Masters title, that is the year end. So he has the form on his side. He is mentally tough as well. He is the new age Djokovic, I can say. He is someone who can look forward for the few years that are coming forward, that he can dominate on this surface. His style of play definitely suits this surface, and I think Zverev has his work cut out. If he beats Sinner, I think it is going to be his biggest ever victory in his professional tennis career.
Well, obviously, and I think that, you know, although I've called it for a straight set victory, but like you said, that one set might just go to Zverev.
Yeah, we have to give some respect to the finalist, isn't it? I think Sinner is outright favorite. We don't disagree actually, but the way he demolished his opponent in the semi-final, Zverev has all the rest that he needed. I don't think this two semi-finals in one day has made any impact, because Sinner made a light work of his opponent as well, and he got a walkover. Zverev I'm talking about, and these two players will be mightily fresh come Sunday, and it's going to be a cracker. Zverev is not an outside finalist in this final. He is one of the top players. He has been in the top 10 for the past couple of years. He is one of the consistent players on the tours. So I think Sinner will not take him lightly, and he shouldn't be taking anybody lightly for that matter. Okay, he doesn't have an opponent with the likes of Federer, Nadal or Djokovic, but Zverev will give the run for the money to Sinner. But I think he will take out one set at least, and 3 sets to Sinner. I think it's Sinner all over the final.
Well, coming to the women's affairs now, although I think it's going to be an interesting one, but I'm going to come to the second one in a bit. But Aryna Sabalenka completely annihilated Paula Badosa, so she took that straight set onwards. But if you look at the other semi-final, I have to look, even though I called it, but I still have to say, and you called it otherwise. I said that, I want Madison Keys in the final. You said that Swiatek doesn't have that, gas in that tank to make it to the final or win. So I think both of us end up on a victory note. But what was interesting was that losing the first set and then coming back and dominated the second one, Madison Keys. The third set went right down to the wire to the tiebreak, but she took that as well. So I mean, that speaks volumes of what Madison Keys has endured in that semi-final.
See, being a top player, it's not just about playing good tennis. You have to play good tennis on the tour, obviously, but it is about nerves as well. You have to have mental toughness. That is very, very important. If you look in the past 10, 20 years, there is one player, I'm sorry, that comes to your mind, that is Roger Federer. Whenever it goes to the tiebreaker, you would always have one winner if Federer is in that game. Then Djokovic took over, and now you can see that nobody has completely dominated women or men tour. but having these close games, that is not too often now as we used to see a couple of years back. So whenever this appears, you need to have mental strength to win it, and that is what Madison Keys did it. Why I said that Madison Key might win this semi-final is simply because, with all due respect to Swiatek, she's my favorite female tennis player. But the problem is, if you compare him with the men's Alcaraz, see here, we don't have a player who has the all-round game. There are players who are dominating surfaces. Swiatek, this is not the surface that she loves, certainly, and she has made it to the semi-final. Congratulations to her. But Madison Keys, she has done remarkably well. She's more consistent in this regard. If you look at this whole tournament, she was doing mighty consistent. But Swiatek, just because of her ranking, some of us thought that she might be the favorite here. But it was an even Steven game, and this is how it ended up. I said Madison Keys, but it was not how I wanted it to finish. It was very, very nail-biting, and I think in the end it was not tennis that won, it was the mental strength that won Madison the semi-final.
Well, certainly, but you know, if you look at the final as well, Sabalenka outright favorite. She's probably going to give all. She likes dominating it to straight sets victory, and that's going to be very interesting. But all in all, it's going to be a very interesting final on both the men's and women's side as well, and a great end to the Australian Open. You'd like to add something?
Yeah, I would like to add something. Sabalenka is chasing something we call history. She would be the first female player who is going to make it triple Australian Opens consecutive in this century. So she has history on her side. It's not just about winning the Australian Open this year.
Well, eventually history, when you're ever trying to make history, it's given you heartbreaks. That's what we've seen in sports. We don't hope for that, obviously, but thank you very much, Malik Usman Ahmed, for joining us. That gives you all the insight of the Australian Open. So, of course, Saturday and Sunday, the weekend's going to be exciting. The women's final tomorrow, and then on Sunday, the men's final as well, where we have both the Australian Open champions on the women's side and the men's side as well. That wraps up Sports Extra. From me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now.